Call to order the November 1st, 2010 meeting of the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Everyone's here except Councilman Shake Snyder. If everyone would please stand for the invocation by Mr. Red Luke, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow our heads. Lord, we come before you tonight and ask your blessing on these elected officials. Help them make the decisions that we need today and in the future. Also, guide these people who came to tonight's meeting. Due to the inclement weather, let's hope they get home safer to their families. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Red. Just want to let everybody know in public comment that anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary and you'll be given time when that agenda item comes up. We have no additions to the agenda, but we do have somebody with the Punch Train Levy District running a little late, so if I get to the chairman's report, we'll flip-flop it over to agenda item number 6 first. The chair would accept the motion to accept the minutes of the October 4th, 2010 meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Right now, I'd like to we'll move to agenda item number, so I see Mr. Wilson here. I'll move to agenda item number 5. We'll stay in line. On my chairman's report, basically we've had a request with the Punch Train Levy District that works working close with us on some major projects within our parish to come forward and give us some updates. I think right now I want to quickly announce the folks that we have with us. Mr. Steve Wilson, President of the Punch Train Levy District. Mr. Mike DeLone, Vice President. And I understand Ms. Monica Salem couldn't make it tonight. She's the Executive Director. We have Mr. L.C. Irving, member. Mr. Jerry Savoy. Mr. Marty Poche. Mr. Alan St. Pierre. And I guess, Steve, if you'd like to lead, just let us know which project you want to report on and give us an update. And I'm sure that some of the commissioners may want to field questions, and you may want to bring in some of the subject matter experts from the different firms.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Blart, and I appreciate y'all allowing us to come and give you an update. Probably long overdue, so I apologize for that. We'll try to get you up to snuff with what we're doing. And I guess, members of the board, I wanted to tell you that PLD's appreciates working with Ascension Parish through the Drainage District. We've got Mr. Les Wagesback with Shaw, Jake Lambert with GSA, and Henry Picard with West Shore, with Burke Kleinpeter. We basically have 5 projects that we're working on that involve Ascension Parish in some way, shape, or form. Randy, I have a book I'm going to leave with you, or some information where I'm going to leave with you eventually. We're going to get some copies made to give a little more detail, but Les and the consultants that we brought with us will give you updates for their specific project. But I want you to understand that as of what we project in 2011, between our West Shore feasibility study, which comes from the Bonnicary Spillway in St. Charles Parish, all the way to, I'm saying this right, Marvinboro Pump Station, our Amite River and Tributaries Project, which is 2, the Ecosystem Project and the Bayou Manchac Project, and then Bayou Conway and Laurel Ridge Levee Extension. Between all of those projects, we're expected to reach probably right in the neighborhood of $10 million by the time we get through this budget year. The West Shore project is a $5 million expenditure from PLD at this point, although it covers St. John, St. James, and Ascension Parish. The tie point, the advantage Ascension Parish will get on that is we're trying to utilize your levee system and your pump station as a tie point for that federal project. Right now, that is the only federally authorized project under study. We are we'll do a feasibility study completion. In our minds, we're trying to progress that right now. Get the first phase wrapped up, which will just be the I-55. Phase 2 will go through St. John Parish, and then the final phase will cover St. James into Ascension Parish. We've had a lot of, I don't know if that's me or not. I think we've had a lot of struggles with the Corps with their timeline, but we recently had about 4 months now. We've had a new project manager, Marty Lucor, that's been brought on board. Mark Wingate, some of you have dealt with before, I think, on some of your projects. He's still the overall project chief, but we feel like we've got another emphasis on that project and kind of a new push on the AR&T projects. We actually had to go back and do that under Section 211, it's called, where we're using all local money. We're still building on, in both cases, we're trying to build those to core standards. The major reason for that is if we, it takes a little longer. If we get them done to core standards right now as they exist today, that's our only chance of getting back our local dollars in the form of credit. It's also the only chance of getting those levees certified,
Right.
where they'll give you some real benefits to your residents with FEMA. So, you know, when there's a frustration level there about the time it's taken, there's nobody wants it done quicker than the 3 gentlemen from Ascension Parish that bug me at every meeting. But we're trying to do it right. We're trying not to leave any stone unturned. So, you know, I guess if you don't mind, I'll have maybe start with Les and have him come up and give you a little brief summary, and then we'll be around for any questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. How you doing, Les?
I'm doing fine. It's a pleasure to be here this evening and bring you guys up to speed on what's happening with a couple of the projects. We'll start out with the Bayou Manchac project, which is a sub-project under the Embiid River and Tributaries Authorization. It actually began as a cost-shared study with the Corps, and as Steve mentioned, was converted to Section 211 in July of 2008. Okay, I'm going to talk about more of the results of the study and hit some of the high points. Okay, basically we've identified a tentatively selected plan which consists of the following: replacement of the floodgates at Alligator and Frog Bayous, dredging of Alligator Bayou, the acquisition of a small staging area which will also serve to house the remote operations so that the structures can be remotely operated once they're replaced. We'll also provide for an operational launch area so that we can inspect and operate and maintain those facilities. In addition, there'll be some protection on the opposite bank in Bayou Manchac, where there's currently some erosion that's taking place. When you replace the structures with more efficient structures, yours will probably continue unless you put some protection. So protection is included in the plan. We also proposing to realign Ward Creek and East Baton Rouge Parish. What exists out there now was currently, there was a diversion that took place from the old channel in about 1960. It dumped it right into Bayou Manchac at about a 90-degree angle. What that changed is that changed the distribution of flows. Prior to that, when you had the old natural channel that meandered and came into Bayou Manchac. You had about a 75-25 distribution, 75% going towards the Amite River, 25% going towards Spanish Lake Basin in the back, okay? When they changed it, it ended up being about 50-50, so you're getting a lot more water back there than you used to get prior to about 1960. So what we're proposing to do is realign the lower end of the Ward Creek channel, and it's primarily on Breck property. We've been working closely with those folks. And what we're going to do is tie in close to where the original natural channel used to tie into Bayou Manchac. When we do that, essentially what you're doing is you're going back to 75-25 distribution, which will help provide a little bit more flood storage in the Spanish Lake Basin area to prevent and accommodate backwater flooding. The other thing we're proposing to do is to construct a structure, a flow retention structure in Bayou Manchac, just upstream in the bayou of where the new channel, realigned channel, will intersect with Bayou Manchac. What that will do is that will prevent backwater from coming in and filling up your Spanish Lake area and the Bayou Fountain area and that whole watershed, upper part of the watershed there. In conjunction with that, when we realign it, we'll also provide the appropriate bank protection on the new bank, and we'll also provide a couple of things for Breck, including tying their comfort station into the parish sewer system instead of using a part of the old Ward Creek that's been used for years as a sewage facility. Okay, let's talk about the estimated cost. The engineering and design will cost about $2 million, and the project implementation and our construction is estimated to be about $23 million. Okay, as Steve mentioned, this is being done under Section 211, and basically that's a provision in Word 96 which allows for non-federal agencies to plan, design, and construct the project and seek reimbursement from the federal government, i.e. to the Corps of Engineers. Okay? Now, there are some limits on how much money Congress allows to be given out in that program year by year. Okay? And based on the experience of the our sister agencies, shall we say, in Texas, it's very difficult to get reimbursed for money, even on these projects, even if they're authorized as federal projects. Once the local money is spent, federal government kind of, shuts their eyes and says, okay, we got it now. So that's the kind of thing that you're dealing with, okay? Punch Drain Levee District is looking at some options for funding, which might, in essence, if we're successful in doing that, expedite the implementation of that. If you stay the course with the Corps, you're probably looking at about 6 or 7 years to get to where you actually have a project that could be in place. If we're successful in getting alternative funding, then we could possibly have that in place in about 4 years. So that's the difference, and it's worth the effort of trying to do that. The other project, which is also a part of the Amite River and tributaries authorization, is the ecosystem project. That project includes a watershed consisting of 4 counties in Mississippi and 6 parishes in Louisiana. Of course, Ascension Parish is on the lower end of the Amite River system. The purpose of that study is ecosystem restoration, but that doesn't mean that you won't get some potential flood benefits, flood protection out of it too. One of the things that they're going to look at is incorporating as much flood protection as they can in the lower part of the basin. Okay. Funding has been constrained on this effort too. The study estimate was $5.2 million. We're not even a 20% into the study based on money that's been available. It's just going to take some time. One of the things that and this study has been assigned to the Vicksburg district for putting together a project team. Okay, the Vicksburg district has actually spoken with Punch Drain Levee District about seeing if they can help them get more money to devote to this so that they can expedite that effort. Based on very, very preliminary numbers, that project will probably be in the $60 to $75 million range, and of course the non-federal share will be in the vicinity of about $25 million. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Anybody, Les, if you don't mind, anybody's got, are you open for questions? Anybody got any questions for Les? Mr. President.
On the alternative funding that you're looking for on the man shack, what are we talking about?
We're looking at some grant type programs that are available that can be used for this type of project, and possibly some CDBG type money, which is also a grant program.
We had talked at one time about a lot that brought about project, I guess certified or whatever it has to do by the school. Would that be something that if the parish went ahead and changed out those lots, that would be eligible for reimbursement under this program?
Under the way the program currently works, you cannot do anything like that until after you have authorization.
No, that's what I'm saying, after authorization.
So it's going to take several years to get there. It's a somewhat cumbersome process, and that's just the way the system is. But yes, I'm sure PLD would appreciate any contributions that the parish would be doing.
Les, real quick, I think some other folks want to ask a question, but this project is basically a three-parish type project, right?
Yes.
And we're looking at...
Baton Rouge, Ascension, and Iberville.
Okay,
There are benefits in all three parishes.
thank you. Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Yeah, Les, thank you for the good information here. The additional boat ramp, will it be located in Ascension or East Baton Rouge?
Yeah, we actually have two of them that we're looking at. One is tentatively in East Baton Rouge on the Breck property, and the other one is in Iberville Parish.
Okay.
Right next to Alligator Bayou.
Okay.
But it's accessible from here,
Sure.
similar to the boat launch they have there now.
That's still in the tentatively selected plan. That could change
Okay.
as we go through the process.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Les. Appreciate your efforts. Mr. Jake Lambert with GSA.
Gentlemen, my name is Jake Lambert. I'm an engineer, work for Glenn Shaheen and Associates. With me here this evening is David Boyd with Conbeater and Associates. We're working together on the Bayou Conway and Panama Canal study. Just want to give you all a brief update on that project, then I'll follow up with my update on the Law Ridge Levee Extension project. The Bayou Conway and Panama Canal project is essentially, it's a master plan drainage study for the entire basin. The basin encompasses about 25 miles of stream combined on Bayou Conway and the Panama Canal. I believe there's about 65 square miles of drainage area in this basin. It's a pretty large area in the southern portion of the parish that is outside of the Marvin Bro drainage basins. It's a natural gravity drain system. There's been some nuisance and nuisance flooding problems in this area for quite a while, and that is one of the reasons we're looking at this. But also one of the reasons that the Pontchartrain Levee District was excited to assist in this project is if the West Shore Hurricane Protection Levee comes through and ties into Ascension Parish as it is tentatively proposed, this basin will now be inside of that protected levee. And so we needed to know what the drainage conditions are and what they are proposed to be to make plans for the West Shore levee. So this is kind of a two-part study, and Ascension Parish is going to benefit tremendously from it. What we did, gentlemen, is we prepared some existing condition models. We did a bunch of surveying out there, evaluated the existing conditions. David did all of the modeling for us, and we were able to identify where we were having problems within this system. From there, we started looking at different solutions to do some dredging. We know that funds are limited for this project, and so what we've tried to do is target some of our most important areas that we feel there could be some dredging to occur, primarily on the lower end of the system, and then also, which will accompany this report/study, is a master plan, a big picture plan for the entire basin and a long-term plan, so that, you know, if it were decided upon that the parish wants, or in a cooperation potentially with the Pontchartrain Levee District, wants to move forward with this thing over a series of years, they would have a definite plan on how to proceed with that. Moving forward with this project, we wrapped up the proposed channel sections, and now actually next week we'll be meeting with the Corps to discuss, get their input on what they would suggest. One of the ways that they would suggest we move forward with this thing, and the final report we expected to follow shortly from here. You got anything more? Do I have any questions?
Madam Secretary, please note that Mr. Shakespeare is present. Yes, Mr. Adrian Thompson.
Yes, Jake, you said the report can be through within the next couple of weeks?
Very soon.
Very soon?
Yes, sir.
President, we got some funds we're looking at. We're going to do some, after they finish their report, how much money are we going to allocate to work on cleaning up that basin?
Yes, sir. We have put in for a grant through FEMA to do 4 different channels. Panama is one of them. So depending on the receiving of that grant, which we hope to know about in the end of December, 1st of January.
Okay.
So we have put some money in there, but that's,
We do have some source of funds to do some cleaning.
What's the dollar fee?
Sir?
What's the dollar fee?
Well, we don't know yet until we get the study in and see what the bottlenecks, and then do a more evaluation of what it'll cost just to clear the bottlenecks. But we're waiting on the report from GSA.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of follow up with that, but the targeted areas that we've identified as priority stretches along the bayou, and this can be amended to fit the budget, obviously, but we've identified about, I think it was about 250,000 cubic yards of material that will need to be removed at certain locations, and until we meet with the Corps and determine the disposal methods of the spoil, we don't have a real good dollar figure, but we're figuring around $2 million-ish for that particular first phase of priority. And again, that can be amended to, obviously, to fit your budget, but that was kind of our first stab at it. And of course, we're going to be working with you guys, the parish, and also Pontchartrain Levee District too.
And that is some of the figures that we use to estimate the budget if, in fact, we do get some funds through FEMA.
If I may, what we did was, as far as modeling and proposing the dredging locations, we kept everything within the banks, so you wouldn't have to spend any type of money on property acquisition, right-of-way, stuff like that. And there are several locations where you can do the projects piecemeal as the money comes in. It's not just start at one end and finish at the other. There are several locations that can be done, and then if the money's used up, then you can move forward from there.
That's all you got?
Mr. Rule. Mr. I would like to see something started in that area close to the first of the year because all the flooding that they have been having in that Pelican Point and Astroland area?
We have already started within Drainage Department doing surveys and preliminary work on gaining permits for wetland delineations. We have tasked Hartman to step in and do some delineation work on Panama.
Okay, thank you.
I want to add, Councilman Thompson, that while most of the dredging work, I mean, it's kind of simple, but most of the initial work will be done on the lower end of the basin. Most of the benefits will be seen on the upper end. The Darrow area, Astroland, Pelican Point, that area. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Shakespeare.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate you guys coming here, and this is a big help. We've been looking forward to this for a while. We appreciate Contrary and Levee District especially for getting, continue getting involved with the parish, and we need you guys, so we just want you to know we appreciate anything we can get, and we appreciate all the help you do. I'm right on that body of water and very familiar and everything, but I've got 100 questions. And is there a time, a place where you just go sit down and kind of go through a lot of this information and just ask questions and get a handle on what's recommended, how can it be done, why, why, where, and how? Just as
We'd love to sit down and get some feedback.
Just a sit-down educational thing mostly, because I know y'all spend a lot of time, and I know we've gone out there with a field trip and all, and I just like to be able to do that with whoever's involved, and I'm not sure Randy or if anybody else would, but I mean, just to kind of get a handle on what we should ask for and why,
Sure. And what we can do, we'll be happy to, when we get together, is go over where we're proposing, from the engineering standpoint, and then you guys, y'all are out there, y'all are dealing with your districts and your people, and you can say, well, I'm sure that y'all have some additional input that'll be very valuable to what we're doing, and so we're always eager to sit down and go over some.
I mean, we can go to, I don't know, I guess it would be at the Levee District office or whatever. I mean, could you possibly set up something where I could go and sit down with whoever?
Sure.
I mean,
we'll be happy to do it. We'll coordinate that here.
This is an educational thing. Just find out what's...
Absolutely.
I know y'all spend a great deal of time, and
yes, sir.
I just think before
I
find out anything else. And I was... In particular, maybe you can give me a time frame, and I know we had some FEMA flood zone maps that were put out, and it was questioned whenever it was, and then I know that's something that you said y'all had some information that was going to be able to have some input, and I was just wondering
actually, we got some I got some information. Somebody within this basin is looking at doing a Loma. Right now, and I'm very curious to see how that is going to come out. That's a letter of map revision for the FEMA flood zone. We found some information that in the flood studies we may have some differing data than what they have, and one of the options will be to actually go sit down with FEMA and show them what we have, and let's try to figure out where these differences are and where they can be rectified, and how we can resolve any differences that we see versus what they see.
Well, that was one of the important things that I was
Absolutely.
very much interested in, because people have to pay their insurance according to that.
Yes, sir. And there's no guarantees. They're a fairly independent group, but the data is the data.
Yeah.
And we're going forward.
Well, I mean, every time we've gone to them with information, they said if you come to us with data that's backed up with engineering, and then and that's why we were waiting to question anything in that area until we knew.
And actually, Councilman Shake Snyder, when we do that, it would probably be a great benefit to have you and some representation from the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District there to help us.
Glad to.
I mean, I know y'all be happy to do that as well, so, we will definitely be looking, we're just kind of wrapping this thing up. Once we have the finished product, then it's kind of the time to start pushing it around, you know, on this side.
Well, I appreciate it, and like I say, whenever you do have a time to set up for a meeting, just contact me and I'll be glad to be there at whatever time.
Sure. Any other questions?
Any other questions, Mr. Lambert? So basically, Jake, you'll be, within a couple of weeks, you'll be presenting the PLD with your study?
What I anticipate to do is actually present a draft.
Yeah.
As you all know, East Ascension Gravity Drainage is participating in this 50%. So I'll probably present a draft to you guys, draft to Pontchartrain Levy District, let y'all pass it around, kick it around, comment, and then we'll issue a final.
Okay. Once you turn that in, and we'll get please
Absolutely.
let Steve, Mike, and them, Jerry, and all them know. We'll get together and
Sure.
kick around and set up something for that.
Sure.
Anything else on
Yeah, I do
Conway, Panama?
one more thing. I apologize. I was supposed
Yes.
to keep this short. Just keep in mind that this is part of, while it is it's going to make some drainage improvements and all, it's part of the larger West Shore stretch. So that's kind of how this thing fits into the puzzle. And I just want to let you guys know that we've also looked at the future conditions of when and if that levee is ever built, what will need to be put in there. If it's going to be a pump system, you know, we're looking. Those are some of the things that will be included in this as well. So that is really the initial impetus for this.
We do realize that the impact of what we do up here, and that it doesn't negatively affect the West Shore project, and that the West Shore project integrates in for the major good of all.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for Mr. GSA? Thank you, man.
I got the Law Ridge if y'all want
Right.
to hear about that one too. I'll try to be a little quicker.
We'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one for about 2 hours.
The Law Ridge Levee Extension Project is also kind of winding down. We're getting close to this one. This one was started in early '09. This project began actually on the parish side. Sometime 4, 5, 6 years ago, East Ascension Parish started looking at this, and the project kind of lost momentum, and then the Pontchartrain Levy District kind of picked it up and started running with it again. What we've done with this project, gentlemen, is we've looked at extending Laurel Ridge Levee up to around the lake area. Those project limits were basically kept from what the parish was looking at originally, and that's, I don't have all of the history with that, but we took those project limits and just kind of stuck with it. Part of the reason was that there was already some geotechnical information the parish had paid for, and trying to keep the budget on this thing relatively simple. What we're doing, gentlemen, is looking at extending the Laurel Ridge Levee around the lake area, and we've evaluated 3 different levee alignments with a handful of different concepts. We recognize that there is definitely some challenging flooding, some nuisance flooding, some structural flooding that occurs in this area, and within this basin, there's probably, I think, if I remember the number, it was about 1,500 impacted parcels. You know, not that they're all flooding, but that are within the basin. And we've looked at our the different scenarios we've looked at. We found out that we can really reduce the flooding significantly in this area by moving forward with this levee. What we're trying to do now, gentlemen, is go and meet with the Corps with our 3 options and alignments. We've got a plan that we would like to see, like to move forward with, and we need to go meet with the Corps. We're doing that next week. Determine if it's something that they are agreeable to. There will be some environmental impacts, which we've tried to minimize and we think we've come up with a fairly innovative concept, and hopefully we can get their positive input on this thing. So we're looking at trying to wrap this. This is basically this is more of what we're considering a reconnaissance study. It's a initial look at this project. Is it feasible? If it is, do we need to pursue it from a federally funded route, or do we need to do it on a local level? And also, we're trying to look at how we can move forward and permit this thing. So we know we can do it. We just need to figure out if the money's going to be there, how we want to move forward, and lastly, can we get permitted?
Real quick, I know you, the natural thinking sometimes of the Corps is follow the wet-dry interface and
Yes,
follow it
that's
around. But basically on option number 2, to cut across the swamp, minimize the cost, and have the water flowing in both directions until needed for gates to close.
Sure. Well, that's where we have to go meet with them and find out. Initially, when the parish was looking at this alternative, they did not get a positive response from the Corps for this concept. But the difference in the way we've pursued it is they were proposing a pump, a forced drainage
Right.
system. What we're looking at is more of a floodgate system that will have a defined operating plan that will allow minimize the impact to the wetlands while still allowing the water to flow out of this basin during high water on the Amy River.
And then throughout that area, the average height of the levee would be
It's 15,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, I know
going
that,
to match up to what the existing Laurel Ridge levee is being raised to.
Yeah, I know that's the elevation. I'm talking about the average height of the levee wouldn't be as
7 feet,
right.
probably at the highest 8 to 10 off the top of my head.
Any questions on Laurel's levee extension? Yeah, Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Jake, on alignment 2, I know you and I talked when y'all first took on this project. I think CDM had already done this similar study to it, and I think the Corps had a lot of problems with alignment 2, number 2 that you have there.
Yes, sir.
And I think you had told me when y'all started the project, y'all would talk to the Corps, and the Corps was on board with y'all for us going with that project. Is that still where it's at today?
What they told us when we met with them initially, 9 months or a year ago, we met with them, we had some preliminary numbers, and they said, okay, go crunch it. If you say you can make this happen, which we were confident that we could, they said, go crunch your numbers, and we'll sit down and talk again. And so that's kind of where we're at. We don't know exactly what the feedback on this thing is going to be. That's why we're kind of hesitant to make a whole lot of promises right now. But we know that what we are proposing from an engineering standpoint can work, but it's going to all come back to environmental and permitting. And we think we've done the best that we can to reduce those impacts and reduce those costs. So actually, next week will be pretty exciting on our end to see what the feedback will be.
It looks like it's going back to just the same as the first study, that it's going to take the most expensive route to do it,
Well,
I thought we was looking at
And the difference is that we are proposing allowing some of those floodwaters to still move back into the white side.
I think that was the same plan also. It was a back and forth floodgate type system.
And the operating plan, when you close those gates, because there are wetlands that will still not be affected necessarily. We got to see what they're going to say, to be honest with you.
At what point are you going back to the Corps?
Monday at 10:30 in the morning, November 8th. If anybody wants to come, I've invited Mr. Bill, and if anybody wants to come, we're going to talk about both of these projects. So, love to have any representation that we could. The more the merrier.
Any other questions on that project? Thank you, Jay. Mr. Henry Picard, Burt Ryan Peters.
Good evening. I'm representing the levee district on the West Shore project. It's a feasibility study that's been ongoing with the Corps. We have 4 very preliminary alignments that are being considered in more detail. A lot of it depends upon the detailed modeling that the Corps is doing right now to determine, with about 150 some odd storms, what the impacts are to St. John, St. James, Ascension Parish. And depending upon those impacts, it will determine the location of the levee. The Pontchartrain Levee District preferred alignment starts at the Upper Guide Levee down in St. Charles Parish, encompasses the I-10, I-55, US 51 interchange, the Belle-Terre intersection along I-10, continues up I-10 all the way to just past the Bayou Conway, and then goes north and ties into the Spoil Bank levee of the New River Outfall Canal and tying into Marvin Bro. That total length is about 28 miles. We've looked at some estimates on that significant project. But along the way, we're looking at a combination of pump stations and drainage gates at each of those pump stations so they can operate both under gravity and a pump condition. And we looked at some isolated drainage gates, for example, on Mississippi Bayou. But we would cover all the major outfalls of the Muntz Woodland Canal location, the Ridgefield Canal. Mississippi Bayou would have a drainage gate. Reserve Relief Canal would have a pump station. Blind River would have a pump station. Bayou Conway would have a pump station. Once again, this is a feasibility study. It should be ongoing with the Corps till 2012. We're asking them to expedite that as much as possible to get it moving. And that portion of the Ascension Parish line on up to Marvin Bro is about approximately a 6-mile levee of the 28-mile segment. Any questions?
Yeah, Henry, when the West Shore project comes in, should it come in? When it comes in, it'll basically it'll mitigate the back, some of the backflowing that coming back around by, I guess, by the airline and.
Yes. What we'll end up doing is we're tying into the levee along Marvin Bro and the New River Outfall Canal. That will protect the entire basin, as we described earlier, in the Bayou Conway. We'd have a protection levee when the water level gets above about 2, which is, and we're basing this off of the operational conditions that are established for the pump stations just on the east side of the spillway. And also the Marvin Bro pump station, which operates very similarly. When the water level gets above 2, you can close the gates, you can begin pumping, but up until that point, you allow for the gravity drainage. Once the water levels start to drop, you then equalize inside and out and allow the intertidal flow. So we would provide that protection from backwater flooding. The permits are approved high water events, they approve named storms. So those operational characteristics can be done for multiple occasions and provide protection for those closed off areas.
Any questions for Mr. Picard? Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Mr. Cloud, if you don't mind, two things real quickly. What I neglected to mention earlier, because I know it's some concern from some of y'all's folks, is our maintenance crew's been able to get back in Marchand setback area for about the first time in about 3 years because of the water. We finally got the river low enough where there's some scary looking beaches down along the river levees right now, but what it's allowed us to do is go in there and do some major maintenance and drainage work. And I know that's an area, because of the past, concerns a lot of your folks. So I did want you to know, you get a chance, ride by and look. Jerry's been out there, made a tour. Anybody can kind of show you around. and we're trying to get some of that cleared out. So I didn't want to leave that out. And then, let's see.
Go ahead.
It's on Marshawn, I was going to say.
You got one more thing.
You finished, Steve?
I have one more thing. I wanted to, Mark Wingate is here from the Corps of Engineers, and one of the what I talked about earlier, and Mark's used to me saying this so he doesn't take offense, what we're trying to do really at PLD across the board is, in a nutshell, if you're waiting on us, you're walking backwards. We're trying to push the button. We're trying to do everything we can. It doesn't do us any good at all to do any of these projects if, when we get into the approval process and the feasibility is wrapping up, we don't have every council member, I guess I'm supposed to say the majority, but anyhow, the council, the parish president, Mr. Rue, everybody has to be on the same page. That's when our friends at Coral pound us if we're not all there together. But referencing some of what Jake said earlier, Mark and him did come up and when we readdressed the Conway and the Panama stuff, the alternates, they did express a willingness, and some of that, one advantage we got, Jerry and them hate when I say St. Charles Parish, so I gotta be careful here, but quite honestly, what's happened is with the St. Charles levee being complete and it working as a tidal exchange levee, with tidal exchange in the pumps, we actually have a real case scenario that we can show people now when we start talking about that type of system. So it's not guessing at what's going to happen. We've got 4 or 5 years now reality where the environmental folks can come out with the Corps and look at what's happening out there. But I'd like to give Mark an opportunity to just address y'all if we could.
Steve, I went back there Wednesday, and the guys was working, and it looked like y'all did a good job. It looks real well back there.
Appreciate it. And you know, that's probably a good point. Those of you that don't know, in the last legislative session, one thing we gained as a coastal levee district, and I can't remember, Mr. President, if y'all got that designation yet or if it's complete. I know it's in the works.
Not quite complete, but if you like, and basically follow our legislation.
What happens now, we're a levee district, not a levee and drainage district. What they did in 2009 at the legislature is they gave every coastal levee district the ability to participate in drainage projects. We used to be limited to, we had to make sure that it pulled the water off the levee on the river. You know, so we would hit main canals and stuff like that, but we couldn't get too far out of that area of jurisdiction. And what the law changed in a coastal area now, we can participate in coastal restoration projects and drainage projects. So it gave us a little more latitude, and that's allowed us to spend a little more money and try to get a return on the taxpayer dollar here. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Wingate. My name is Mark Wingate with the Corps out of New Orleans. In fact, I have some of my staff, Bobby and Jasmine, back here, but really just came to listen tonight, certainly show our support to Ascension Parish as well as the Pontchartrain Levee District. We do have a number of projects that you've heard here tonight. Certainly West Shore Lake Pontchartrain is very important to us, and we shortly, probably by the end of the calendar year, should have some of the first results back from our storm surge modeling to try to get some idea of how large levees should be and the alignments and so forth. So we're very excited about that. Just one example of coordination, which I take my hat off to Pontchartrain Levee District, Ascension Parish, and GSA on the Laurel Ridge. You know, we've been working with GSA and you all for several months now, and this is not even a project brought to the regulatory stage at the Corps, but the idea is to understand, hopefully steer and guide, and we'll be meeting next week, and we'll have regulatory there to try to move those things forward. So we've got a number of projects, just like the Bayou Manchac that Les presented, that we're very involved in, and try to bring that to fruition. So again, just coming tonight, show the support, and certainly the appreciation. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Mark, once again, I want to thank you and your staff, and we appreciate you guys coming into Ascension Parish. You know, we can guarantee you this, that what we're going to do is we're going to work together with the Pontchartrain Levee District and try to push these projects through. We appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Steve, you got anything else?
Just thank you again for being here. We have some addition. I know you got some fact sheets. Monica's going to prepare. In fact, Tommy, I think I gave you my binder with my notes, so if you don't mind, I'm going to swipe it back and get you and that's what them text messages do. Wrong binder. But Monica's putting together a little more detailed level stuff at the office, and I'm counting to make sure we get enough copies for all of you, and it'll kind of show you a little more than that one-page handout you got. And just feel free anytime you want to come look at a project, you want to participate in our meetings, please let us know. Anytime you want us to come back and give an update, we'd be glad to do it. You have, you know, this is our board right now. We're a couple members short from EBR and Iberville right now, and our St. Charles rep is not here, so you're in effect looking at our board. So these are the folks that do anything they can to help you, and if you think of something that we can do a little quicker, better, let us know, and we'll be glad to do it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Steve. Once again, thank you, Steve, Mike, Jerry, Mr. Morty, Alan, Mr. LC, and all the folks that came with y'all back here. We appreciate it. Any other questions on those projects for any of these guys? Thank y'all. We'll move into agenda item number 6, drainage report. Mr. Rue.
I'll be brief. And we handed out the report, so if you have any questions about it, I would ask that you call us tomorrow and we can discuss it. Three items to mention, though, and that's the reforestation. We're still looking for one more bidder. We should have that, or we'll have somebody bidding before the end of this month. I'm going to have it on the agenda for December to approve the low bidder, so we go to contract for the reforestation and they can start in January. The other two main items are the Marvinboro pumping station addition and the Henderson Bayou pump station floodgate. The comment period has ended on both of those projects. We have received and responded to the comments. The Corps has it, and we're waiting for a response from them. We hope to have something from the Corps on both projects within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I've talked to John Herman about it, and they're going to do whatever possible to get us a response back to our response to the comments. Other than that, again, you have the report, and if you have any questions on any project in your district, please give us a call tomorrow, and we'll go in depth with you.
Just real quick, Mr. Rue, on Marvinboro, we want to continue moving forward on trying to look at, we know we have our screen problems down at Marvinboro, and looking at long-term plans to get that.
We are doing that also. That will be in a project. Once we get the expansion started, then we're going to look at contracting the engineering for the changing out the screens, updating and changing the screens to a more better system than what we have now. But we're going to wait until after we get the expansion started.
Yeah, I think in effect we'll own our own cofferdam for that. Any questions from Mr. Brew? We'll move on to agenda item number 7, substantial completion, Muddy Creek at Manchac Harbor, Lamadola Construction. Mr. Brew?
Yes, sir. We're asking for substantial completion of that project as of October 29, 2010, with conditions. And the conditions are to allow the subsidence of the field, expedite subsidence by applying copious amount of water to the surface, but that might not be necessary since we're getting the rain today and the rest of this week. And in the field, the subsidence to grade elevation, and then finished grade and preparation of the sod. So we do have conditions on that substantial completion, but because the contract ended the end of last week, we asked for substantial completion as of the 29th with conditions.
A motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Mr. Rue, we have trouble getting compaction out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's why we want to make natural compaction with the rainfall or water, because we have a lot of sand that we put next to the bulkhead itself, and we're allowing the water to compact it.
One question.
Yes, Ms. Dempsey Lambert.
Bill, on the field area, you feel safe with that? the area that was, that had washed out during construction?
I have some reservations, with, the way the field went back in. That's why we're waiting with conditions on substantial completion to see if the field, holds in place after we get a rainfall. And Lamadola knows this. So basically the next 2 or 3 days will tell the story.
Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, approval to allow encroachment into the drainage servitude 17950 Old Jefferson Highway, Lot 49A. We have one speaker on that. Mr. Greg, what's the last name? Callahan. Okay, Greg.
Yeah, I'm really here just to clear up any questions that y'all may have here. I believe Mr. Rue is going to submit the motion for the agenda.
I guess this might be more for Bill. Bill, I'm looking at this, and we just went over the Bayou Man Shack that we're having all the issues with. I'm looking at this ditch right next to this fence. I know we're requiring them to put a bulkhead right there, but you know, the problem we're having with a bulkhead on Bayou Man Shack with the soil, has all that been looked at on this project? If we're gonna go ahead with a bulkhead, and we come back in 3 or 4 years with a failure, and we end up gonna have to buy the house like we may have to do at Bayou Man Shack, that may be an issue. So we need to look at this item very close while this house is still under construction.
We actually looked at it and, with the building department, Laverne Bourgeois and I, and our engineers. And this is more, it's not the same thing. This is more of a fairly large ditch. It's not a channel. It's a fairly large ditch. And we looked at it, and the main thing that we saw was if we can maintain the capacity and at the same time have access to the property so we can maintain it, I guess the purpose of the drainage department has been fulfilled. So that's why we recommended 2 things. Number 1 is providing coverage there, covering it completely, which is a huge cost because of the size ditch. The other method of providing those benefits is to put a small, and it's a fairly small in height, bulkhead right there, so we can at the same time maintain capacity and give us a route on site of the house so we can maintain the ditch. We feel that it's going to work. We're comfortable that it will provide the service that we need for that area, so we don't have a problem with it.
So the house or the structure, none of that's in the servitude?
The back portion of the house is in the servitude. The corner of the house is in the servitude.
How you allow, you know?
Well, we don't. The building department's involved, and I think that was a problem with the surveyor of the contractor. Positioned the house. I don't think they had accurate information on the servitude, and it went to the building department. And the house actually, the picture you have, the house is actually complete now.
So, is this your house, or are you the contractor? Or?
No, sir, I represent the contractor. But the contractor is here tonight. If you have any questions for him.
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification, everyone, is that the motion is to allow encroachment into the drainage servitude by the house structure. All right, so.
Yeah, I understand the motion.
And based on...
The point is, it's already started.
No, it's already complete. It's complete. And again, we found out about it just by the action of traveling in the area. We observed the possible violation. We brought it to the building department, who issued the permit, but by that time it's already partially complete, and that's when we started negotiating with the property owner to, I guess, help him out, at the same time provide the service that the drainage board is here for, that is, provide the drainage in the area and be able to maintain it. So we tried to hit a fair medium.
The
other alternative is to tear the house down. Or
I'm
tear
saying
there's
no way to move the drainage servitude.
No.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Todd. Finish it.
I guess, Bill, and I might have to ask this to the developer, looking at the plat when he built the home, they didn't have a servitude on your map, on your plat?
Uh-huh. That's what I told him.
It was stamped, yeah. I see your point.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. I believe Mr. Thompson was next. Yes, Mr. Shakespeare.
Yeah, Tommy and Bill, I mean, it's ever since I've been on planning commission and through councilman, every time something like this comes up and they question it, and the answer is, if it's a surveyor or an architect and they put their stamp on it, you should go with it, and they should be responsible. And this has happened over and over and over again, yet I've never in history have ever seen anybody that has been responsible. What do we have to do to make somebody responsible? If somebody put their stamp on it, then they should be paying for this.
I agree that the surveyor should be responsible. He put his stamp, he put his, that's his livelihood. That's what he gets paid to do.
And they got insurance to do it, too.
That's it.
What do we have to do to follow up? I mean, nobody ever follows up on it.
They are asking now for you to deviate from that and to give them, an exception here, which you don't have to do. If you don't, you're gonna have to tear the house down, and the surveyor will be responsible. That's the bottom line. That's. And Lindsay, do you agree with that? Pretty much. Is that what you assess? Right. That's their problem, not ours. So.
The problem, and Mr. Jackson, come up here. I think the problem may be, as we found out through the process, because I just got involved in this. And the main reason I got involved is it's a matter of title. When they do the closing, matters of servitude are going to typically come up through the process. In order to get a loan, they're going to require title commitment, as you know. And if I'm doing the title work, if I see there's an encroachment on the survey, I can't give a good title commitment. There's not going to be a loan. The other issue is Mr. Jackson was partly into the construction of the house when the matter was discovered, and he was allowed to continue. And now it's an issue of, is it a burden on Mr. Jackson when he relied on somebody telling him they could continue the construction process? Is that correct? Yes, sir. And about the insurance, did you talk with him?
We do not have anyone on missions insurance, Mike.
Doesn't
matter to y'all.
I just think we ought to pursue action against whoever allowed this to happen. I mean, the parish also, and the building officials and everybody else in permitting, acts according to what is being presented to them by stamp drawings and everything.
I agree with that.
And so, I mean, whatever action we need to take it and move forward. And
well, you don't have to take any action if you deny this request. They won't be able to sell the house anyway because you won't be able to get title to it.
Correct.
So,
well, it'll be an exception on the title.
Right.
And nobody will loan the money.
Right, and then you can actually ask them to remove the building from the servitude.
Well,
those are the options.
But and we need to do what we're supposed to do on that.
Do y'all have the map showing exactly what's in the servitude?
So much this one here?
Look,
It's like
it's the only thing we got.
And we don't even have that, but I think it's about 30 inches. One of the corners, the way it's 30 inches, it encroaches into the servitude.
I think we need to. I just want to
go ahead, Todd.
Bill, Parish President, I know it's coming to us for approval, but wouldn't it have to go to a variance board since the house is built in a servitude? Is that a variance that the variance board?
Somebody granted? Not a variance. I mean, they violated. I mean, they encroached into the servitude. So it doesn't have anything to do with the planning commission. It has to do with
but a lot of times
you
the variance
ask them.
board, you see them come up where they have built a shed too close into the servitude, and they have to get that variance to get cleared.
Well, I have, since this came up, but I mean, I didn't know about this issue, but I have myself drove around the parish, looked at our parish drainage ditches, and they have fences built through the ditch. I'm coming back to y'all with an ordinance on that. We have an ordinance, but an enforcement type thing. As soon as we get this court in place, they're gonna have to start tearing down those fences because we can't even get our equipment in there to clean the ditch and people are encroaching. It's not gonna be a popular thing, but it has to be done, and we're gonna have to just take the bull by the horns and handle it. But on this situation, I mean, your options right now are basically, I mean, you can ask them to have him removed from the servitude. You can have whatever portion is encroaching, or you can grant him this relief at this point. And what that does, it allows him to get a clear title to the house.
You said 30 inches of the house is what's in the servitude?
The 30 inches, there's a fence that he's in the process of, when he found out the fence, they're tearing the fence down, but it's 30 inches based on the map that I believe the drainage, Mr. Primo or somebody supplied to us.
Like a corner, 30 inches.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we direct, well, let me go ahead and make the motion that we direct them to remove the 30 inches, remove every bit of the house, the permanent structure from the servitude, whether that's reconstructing some things or what, but I mean, that's pretty ridiculous to have that in the servitude, and I don't think we need to obviously be responsible for any of that or any further responsibilities going forward. But if we go into, I'm concerned if we go down the route of the whole legal action and everything else, perhaps we are somewhat at fault because of the map that we provided. I thought I heard something about that, or, you know, we went, I don't know if we approved it along the way, we started negotiating with them, so, I mean, those are things that are going to come back to bite us because we kind of led them on, I think. So why don't we just...
We have a motion by Mr. Lohr to deny the request. We have a second by Mr. Shakespeare. Discussion. Mr. Valentine.
Do you have anything in writing from the parish that says it's
Yes,
okay for you to proceed?
Yes, I have a letter from Mr. Primo.
Mr. Primo.
In there for drainage.
Okay.
Sir?
Are you asking something from the parish saying it's okay?
In other words, you mentioned a while ago the developer. You said you mentioned Mr. Laverne, who works.
I just mean like when he approved the plot plan and all that.
Okay.
That's all I was saying. And when they finally said it was in the wrong spot, and they came out and did the survey, we were almost done with the house regardless. I mean, we were almost done. Anyway, we just finished it so it didn't sit empty.
Parish President, you need to explain the process. So what he's saying is he took it to our planning department, and it was approved.
They took the survey map that was provided to him by the contractor to the building department. The building department reviews it, looked at the footprint of the house on that lot, and it was within the servitude as per the
Survey, his survey.
Erroneous survey.
Okay.
But it was within.
Based
on that, he was issued a permit to build. We, in
Based
fact,
on
I was one of
misinformation
them that
from
saw
his survey.
the problem after, when it was 3/4 completed, saw the problem where it was inside our servitude just by observation.
Okay.
Then it led to everything else.
All right. Good. And I didn't get quite finished, but I'm looking at the ditch right there, being right next to the house, and it's a pretty substantial ditch. And we've been having problems with, over and over again, with things sloughing off. I think we're working on 3 or 4 different things, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look out there, and if you step out of your back of your house and you're in a 25-foot wide ditch in South Louisiana, you're going to have some problems eventually if it's built like that. And I think we're asking for a lot of problems. So,
real quick, give me a name again.
Callahan.
Mr. Callahan is presenting me with a letter that he has from Darrell Primo saying that they could go ahead and build a house in exchange for the bulkhead. It's come from
With that, I offer the substitute
drainage.
motion.
The date on this is
The house is already.
That's what I'm saying, this is a negotiation?
That's
In other words,
negotiation.
what this is, Mr. Chairman, is negotiation, since the house is built already, they build a bulkhead, then they can go, then we'll go ahead.
And basically the negotiation said, look, if you do this, we will give it or present it to the drainage board as an option. Now, if the drainage board turns you down on this option, then you have to go back to the original of removing the structure from the servitude. Again, it came out as negotiations with the building department on some way we could rectify the situation without tearing the house down. Again, it's a recommendation, that's all it is, and the house is already complete when this happened, when that letter was issued.
Being a chair, I can't make a motion, but it seems like we have some confusion here. I would think that we probably want to...
Mr. Chairman, during the discussion,
Go ahead.
another
Go
question.
ahead,
Bill, if we agree to the negotiation which you have done, that means the bulkhead will be constructed per our standards, but not at our cost, right?
Oh, at our standards and the final inspection.
And I don't see any kind of
no cost to
description of what the bulkhead is going to look like or how long it's going to be. But I mean, I would think that would be part of what is it stated in that letter, Mr. Chairman?
It said a bulkhead.
It didn't say what.
No, but the motion, if you read the motion, the only thing we agreed to is that if two things. First, if culverts was put in, if there's a covered ditch, and you pay totally for the covers covering the ditch, which we have before allowed encroachment, because the company, in fact, commercial buildings come in there and cover the ditch, we allow a certain amount of encroachment because we don't need that much because it's being covered. The other alternative is to put a bulkhead in, which means you're allowing maybe an additional 10 or 10 foot on the side of the house that you can access with a tractor, and you're going with a bulkhead right there, you're keeping the same capacity of the ditch because you're not having the slope, you're having it vertical, straight down, so the capacity is the same, and you allow for maintenance of the ditch because you're able to come out 10 foot less than what the servitude was originally. And again, we're just trying to define a happy medium where we're satisfied, drainage is satisfied, and it's still going to cost the contractor money to put that into our specifications. So I know that he's not getting it by free. But and again, we try to negotiate with people in this type of situation. We've done it before to try to come to a happy medium. Sometimes we can't, sometimes we can. So that's what we tried to do on this.
Talk to him.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, so you're pretty much saying that it would be a little bit easier if for your drainage to maintain this ditch with the bulkhead.
Yeah, you put a bulkhead there and you don't have the grass and everything along it. Basically,
it'd be easier to maintain.
Maintained by the property owner
Yeah.
because, it's so close to the house. And inside the ditch itself, there's very little maintenance because of the fact the bulkhead is taking up the slope of the ditch and you don't have any erosion. We've done it before. But it had to be done, and the condition is, it has to be done according to our specifications, which has to do with the height, the length, the construction material used, and final inspection by us, or we won't allow it.
And that's going to be a pretty costly, expense to the homeowner or the developer. I guess this little 30 inches that we're talking about, how much would that destroy your house as far as the way your house, is that a bedroom or is that that corner?
It's a corner of a bath and a corner of a...
So you got plumbing, you got everything else in it?
Yes, I think the bulkhead cost was 10 to 12,000 was.
All right, that's usually what they...
Yes, Mr. Benny Johnson.
Bill, did we incur any cost as far as having to go back out there and resurvey this?
Minimal. Our own people went out and surveyed it.
So that's something recoverable from the original surveyor that messed up?
We have a work order, and we can account for the hours that was put on that work order.
The other question I have as far as what's the chance of this canal having to be widened in the future?
It was wide not too long ago, a few years ago, through there when Aaron Estates built the subdivision. And I don't foresee it having to go. In fact, it can't go because of the location of the houses downstream, which is going through Aaron Estates. You cannot widen it anymore going through that subdivision. So that negates any widening at that point.
So, another question, if we allow him to put a bulkhead there, you're saying we got about 10 foot of clearance between the end of the bulkhead and the house?
We're going to have approximately 10 foot. But that
So,
fence will be removed.
as far as him maintaining the ground up into the bulkhead, that's one thing, but trying to get equipment between the house and the bulkhead to maintain that channel, it's a pretty sizable channel from where I can see that picture. I mean, we're talking at least tractor with a boom hog on it or some type of track hole going in there. I mean, to me, that's a future risk of...
Most of it can be maintained from the other side. But if we have to, 10 foot is always necessary for a boom mower to go alongside, and he has to give us access to provide us with a boom mower to go along the side. Now, a lot of places, and I'll give you for instance, a lot of places we only have 7.5 feet on each side of the property line for a drainage servitude. But usually, if we have 15 foot, is more than adequate. 10 foot, we can get by.
My concern is you bring in a piece of equipment like that and we run into the house by accident later on with the boom or something of that nature. We're causing damage to the house, and we need some kind of hold harmless or something of that nature
within our
to go along with
servitude.
this.
Anything while we in our servitude, any encroachment into that servitude has to have a hold harmless, and the owner is responsible for the permanent maintenance of the bulkhead, which is part of the deed, would be issued, within the deed and everything, these conditions.
Well, the bulkhead, yeah, but the ditch, no, right?
Not the ditch. We'll maintain the ditch.
Yeah.
But we should be able to do it mostly from the other side. If not, we can't handle it from this side. We'll mostly be spraying in that area. From the both sides.
Any other questions?
The only thing is, I just think that their engineer ought to have to sign off on it. I mean, because somebody needs to be responsible. Bill, Bill,
Yes, sir.
when they build it, you said they build it to our specification. Who's going to engineer that? Who's going to engineer the
We
bulkhead?
already have specifications. Specifications.
And then after they build it to our specification, we inspect it, and we're responsible for it?
No.
Well,
The property owner is, going to be responsible for the maintenance of the bulkhead as part of his deed.
so then what if it fails? That
Whoever
point,
buys it,
they,
and it stays with the owner of the property. Just like a servitude stays with the property, that maintenance is part of the servitude agreement and stays with the property.
well, I mean, I would just, I don't feel all fuzzy about our track record with bulkheads.
Well,
But
this, again, you have to put everything within reason. This is a ditch bulkhead. It's not a river bulkhead. I mean, the total depth of the ditch might be 5 feet. Something like this, 6 feet. It's wide, but it's not that deep.
I just want to avoid 5 years, 10 years down the line, the bulkhead giving away and the house starts sliding in and the new owner gets there and they're looking to have the parish come back and pay for it. I mean, I'm just looking at it. It just looks like that's what's going to happen, So, I mean, it's just common sense to me, but...
Well, the other issue...
If we feel comfortable with it...
And we're looking at the degree of problem here. The encroaching, 30 inches or 2 feet?
Well...
If you take that 30 inches or 2 feet out of it, and they hit it, come to the edge of the servitude, okay? And with natural erosion, we'll probably be more liable for problems in the future, because if it comes right up to the servitude, then going this route where we got some protection because we put the bulkhead to protect it and handle the servitude. Now again, we'll be totally opposed to anything if it was, a servitude encroaching 5 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, But again, when we looked at it at 30 inches, and if you move it over 30 inches, I think the putting of the bulkhead actually benefits the parish more than moving it over 30 inches and let the natural erosion take place.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. Yes, Mr. President.
Seems like you have a 60-foot drainage servitude here, which is a lot. What I would suggest is that to have Miss Manda negotiate something with the subdivision owner, with the developer, if that's the route you want to go, to make sure that that bulkhead in the agreement would be maintained by the property owner for through perpetuity in that regard. And if there's any failings or anything, that the responsible party would take care of any future problems. Now, that would have to be put in any title that when you sell the house, that they would have to be responsible to do that. Now, I don't know if that's basically what you'd like to do or want to do, but I'd like to relieve, if at all possible, any future problems with that servitude. And if Ms. Manda can draw an agreement to that effect, maybe that's the way to go.
Mr. Lower.
Okay, let's not confuse nobody else.
Wait, Mr. Lower.
I'll cede the floor to Councilman Thompson.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor
And
and
I
a
made
second.
a substitute.
Okay, what's the substitute?
Substitute is to go in a negotiation with that Ms. Manda with the property owner and put everything in the negotiation where the parish is not liable down the road, and make sure that the bulkhead is built to parish specs.
I second that. We got a substitute motion. You got that, Madam Secretary? That we negotiate. We have legal. We have second is Todd Lambert. Motion by Mr. Adrian Thompson. Second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
No, it's a substitute.
That we allow legal to negotiate that developer and then inherently the landowner for perpetuity or whatever, Tommy, forever, that they have responsibility for the bulkhead.
And no cost to the parish.
And no cost to the parish. You got that? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I only have one quick comment, is that we historically, with servitude, stuff like that, is we end up at some point making a deal, or if there's deals that somebody wants to come forward for special circumstances as a developer, and the developer's not around whenever the homeowner's there. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what, because we only have probably 100 examples that 10 of us can bring up, is the fact that places where we had to go in and spend taxpayer dollars to take care of the shortcomings of either an engineer, or architect, a surveyor, or a developer. And a homeowner that signed a stack of papers that thick, but didn't see that they couldn't build a fence in their backyard, and they couldn't build a gazebo in their backyard, and they couldn't do anything with the ditch and all that, okay? So you can understand the frustration of this board, because this normally doesn't come in front of us. It normally comes in Planning and Zoning Commission. Matter of fact, one such of this came last month to Planning and Zoning, okay? And so you can understand the frustration of these folks, this board and that administration, that we know that 30 years down the road, when there's a problem, that some elected official, somebody's going to try to help out this administration, somebody's going to try to help that homeowner out, okay? All right? So I suggest that everybody get a little bit better at what they do, all right? Because at the end of the day, the homeowner loses and the taxpayers take up the slack. That's all my comments. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Thank you.
We'll move on to agenda item number 9, executive session. We have 2 items, NRCS debris removal, liquidated damages and other costs to SRS Incorporated.
Motion to go into executive session.
And item B, grant finance chapter 7 bankruptcy case number 10-11177. We have a motion to go into executive session, motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Bell. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Bell? Yes. Mr. Lambert? Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. Cullen?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll be in executive session. We're now back in session here. The chair would recognize a motion on agenda item A, 8A, 9A.
Move to have legal move forward with settlement in the case, as we discussed.
We have a motion by Mr. Shakespeare, a second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Motion passes. We'd like to recognize a motion on 9B.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Shakespeare. Excuse me, I apologize. Look at that, Kent. Second by Mr. Adrian Thompson, and that motion is to allow legal to move forward in the matter. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. All right, finally, let's get to number 10. Mr. Todd.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you. We're adjourned.